Welcome to Unit 5, Activity 6, Partial Products with Open Arrays. Last video we watched was called Arrays All Around Us, and it was part of Activity number 2, same unit. We're using the array strategy, but it'll look a little bit differently because these arrays are open. So let's get started. Make sure you have your notebook and your pencil to take notes, and then you write this in your table of contents and on your page, and you can use as many pages as you need. The first thing we're going to do is just take a look at this open array model. So it's this section right over here, and you'll see regular graph paper like we've used to add it up before. This is what we're going to use, and we're going to break our numbers today apart by place value. So the first step we're going to add into our notebook is number 1, break apart by place value. So every time that you start a partial product open array multiplication problem, you're going to break the numbers apart by place value. The first ones we're going to look at are a 2-digit by 1-digit, and then we'll look at a 3-digit by 1-digit. And in the next unit, you'll be going a little bit further with this. Alright, so let's start with the first part of our example. I'm going to say, let's do 46 times 5. And now we're going to do the breaking it apart by place value. And I'm going to plug it in to the template that I have down there. If you'll notice, I put the first number in the left-hand side, and then the second number goes at the top. And I'm going to do that with every problem I do, so let's just get used to that strategy. Alright, so I have 4 10s, which really equals 40, and I have 6 1s, which really equals 6. And then I'm going to bring that 5 over, I'm going to do it in a different color for you to see. Bring that 5 down, and so I have 5 1s. Now we'll go on to the second step. Now, if you notice in the video, like when I tell you you're writing notes, you may use different colors if you want to. That's fine by me. Alright, our second step, which you need to write into your notebook. Split the box by using the numbers. So, you're going to look at the numbers that are in our left-hand side first. And we're going to see which number is greater than and which number is less than. The number that's greater is going to get a larger size slice of the box. So in this case, we have 40 and 6. So our bigger number would be 40. So I'm going to draw a line that's going to split my box. Now, the reason that we do that is so you can see that whenever you're multiplying on the top part, the larger part, that your answer up there should actually be greater than the answer at the bottom because it's a smaller box. Now, that's the only time we're going to split numbers on this one, but if we had 10s and 1s up here, we'd split it here. But since there's only one number up top, we don't have to split it at all. So we're done with step 2. Alright, the third step we're going to do is multiplying our numbers, and you know we broke them up into place value. So we're going to start with the top number on our left-hand side, which is 40, and we're going to multiply that by 5. So in that first top box, I'm going to write 40 times 5. And if you want to see where they come from, I'll just draw a little arrow down. So 40 times 5, I can do that in my head. But if you can't, remember that you can cover up the 0 and then do 4 times 5. And 4 times 5 equals 20. But then I have to bring that 0 back. Now, it's not magic. It's when you multiply by 10, that's a pattern that's created. You add a 0 every time you add a 0 to what you multiply by. So if we multiplied it by 400, we would have to add another 0. The next step we're going to do is multiply the next set of numbers. So I'm going to do this in a different color so it's easier for you to see. I'm going to take from my left-hand column the 6, and I'm going to multiply it by that top number, 5. And my answer would be 30. Now the reason that I have the graph paper over here is because we're not done and we're going to use that on our next step. But right now we're done multiplying our numbers. Now we're on step 4, which is to add up our partial products. And up here you'll see where it says to add it up. So I'm going to write 200 in my graph paper. And I'm going to add that to the 30 from my second section. So both of these numbers are just coming straight from my open array. And then I'm going to add them up. So 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 3 is 3, and 2 plus 0 or nothing is 2. So my answer would be 46 times 5 equals 230. And you see why this would be a better strategy than trying to draw out 46 dots by 5. That would take you forever. So that's why we use this open array strategy and break it apart into smaller problems. Now let's try a few more examples. Remember to write these down. Alright, here's example number 1, 23 times 9. The first thing I'm going to do is my first step, which is break it apart by place value. So I'm going to take this 23 and I'm going to break it apart. I have 2 10s, which is equal to 20, and 3 1s, which is equal to 1, or 3 1s, sorry. And then I have my 9 over here, and I'm going to bring that down, and I'll have 9 1s. The next step I'm going to do is look at the value of the numbers and choose which one is greater than or less than on the left-hand side and split my boxes. So looking at those numbers, 20 and 3, right here, I know that 20 is greater than, so I'm going to draw my 20 box a little bit bigger, and that way, remember, I'm going to know that this answer up here should be larger than this answer down here. Alright. My next step is to multiply, so I'm going to take my 10s and my 1s, and I'm going to multiply 20 times 9. Again, that trick that I taught you, cover up that 0. 2 times 9 would equal 18, and then I have to add that 0 back because I'm multiplying by a power of 10. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. I'm going to multiply 3 times and bring down my 1s. 3 times 9. Let me draw that arrow all the way through so you don't get confused. And 3 times 9, I know my math facts, is 27. Now I'm ready for my last step. I'm going to go to my graph paper and I'm going to add it up. 180 plus 27 equals 0 plus 7 is 7. 8 plus 2 is 10. Carry my 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So my total should be 207. Alright, let's go to our next example. Remember to pause or stop this whenever you need and write questions if you have any. Alright guys, we're going to try another one. This one is a little bit different. It's our second example. And the reason I made it a little bit different is because now we're going to try it with 3-digit by 1-digit. So we're still going to follow the same steps. Nothing's changed, except now we have more to break apart into place value. So the first thing I'm going to do is look in my hundreds place. In my hundreds place, I have a 2. So down here, it's 2 hundredths, or 200. In my tens place, I have a 20, so I'm going to bring that down, or 2 tens, which is a 20. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my ones place. 8 ones is 8 ones. Now I'm going to go to my second set of numbers and do the same thing. This time I have 6 ones, so I'm multiplying 228 times 6. Alright, now we're going to do our next set where we break apart. Well, we've already broken apart, so excuse me. We're going to draw the lines in the box to show which number is greater than. This time, though, we're going to have to draw more lines because we have more numbers. We're going to have to look at 220 and 8. So if we look at 220 and 8, I know that 200 is the largest number. 20 is the next largest number. And then 8 is the smallest number. So if you'll notice, my boxes get smaller as I go farther down because I'm breaking it apart by place value, so that will be every time. But the 200 box is bigger than the 20, and the 20 is bigger than the 8. Now we're going to do our next step where we do our multiplication, except this time we're going to break it into 3 multiplication problems by place value. So I'm going to start with my hundreds multiplied by my ones. And remember, you multiply your ones all the way down from up there. So 200 times 6, remember our trick, cover up those zeros. 2 times 6 is 12. And then I need to add my 2 zeros back. So my answer for the first multiplication problem is 1,200. Then I'm going to go on and do 20 times 6, which is easy because I just did the 200 times 6. So I cover up my 0. 2 times 6 is 12, and then I only bring over my 1 0 because that's all I covered up. And then my last problem is going to be 8 times 6. And if you know your math facts, you'll know 8 times 6 is 48. Now that I have all of my partial products where I've split them apart by place value, I'm going to add them up in my paper. So first I have 1,200. Each of my numbers fits into one of the graph paper boxes, plus 120 plus 48. And I've lined them up all by place value. Remember how important that is, especially when you're using decimals. But anytime you're adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing, it's good to line your numbers up by place value. Alright, we're going to add those up. 0 plus 0 plus 8 is 8. 0 plus 2 plus 4 is 6. 2 plus 1 is 3. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So my answer, or my total, is 1,368. Alright, if you think you understand this, then you can stop the video and go to the next activity. If you need more review, I'm going to keep going and do another problem for you. Alright, if you're continuing on, let's get started. Number 4, or example 4, is 397 times 7. So again, the first thing that we have to do is break those numbers up by place value. So I'm looking at my 397 for my left-hand column. And I'm going to break it up. I have 300s, which is equal to 300. I have 9 tens, which is equal to 90. And then I have 7 ones, which is equal to 7. On my other side, I just have 7 ones, so that's an easy one. I'm just going to fill it in, 7 ones. And then I'm going to do my next step. Remember, I'm breaking up the boxes, looking at the greater number. So I know 300 is larger. 90 is a little bit smaller. And then 7 is even smaller. And then I'm going to do my next step, which is to multiply my numbers. So I'm going to take my 300 and multiply it by 7. And 300 times 7, I'm going to cover up those zeros. So it's really 3 times 7, which is 21. And then I'm going to add my 2 zeros that I covered up. And my total will be 2100 or 2100. And I'm going to keep going because now I have my 90 times 7 again, because we keep multiplying by that one, or by that set of ones. Cover up my 0. 9 times 7 is 63. Add a 0 at the end that I covered up. And then my last one is 7 times 7, which came from the 7 down there, but also the 7 from up above. Alright, 7 times 7 equals 49. Now I'm on to my last step where I'm going to add it up and get my total. So I'm going to go to my graph paper. 2,100 plus 630 plus 49, all lined up by place value, each digit having its own box. 0 plus 0 plus 9 is 9. 3 plus 4 is 7. 1 plus 6 is 7. And 2 plus nothing is 2. So my answer for 397 times 7 is 2,779. If you still have questions about this, write them in your notebook and I can help you, and sign up on the sheet that I'll have prepared for you guys. If you are comfortable, then you're just going to continue on to your worksheet, and don't forget, after you finish your worksheet, you need to turn it into me. Alright, I'll see you guys for the next lesson. Bye!